My 36F fiancé 30M wants to be added to my mortgage/title of home, but I think he's being unreasonable. Thoughts? Am I the a-hole? Advice needed. My fiancé is very upset that I won't add him to the mortgage or title of the home I am buying for us. He is not putting any money down because all he has right now is massive debt from school loans and will not be able to help pay for any improvements on the home. I am older than him and make more than double what he makes. It's nothing personal. I would never kick him out, but I have worked my ass off and made really good financial decisions along the way to get me to this point. I am taking money out of my retirement account as a down payment. I honestly couldn't even add him to the mortgage because his DTI is insane. He has more debt than he earns annually. He thinks it means I don't see us as a team. I have always paid for most things when we go on vacation, including rentals, cars, hotel stays, and most food. When we lived together, I paid for far more rent/groceries, etc. I am even paying for our wedding in its entirety. I paid for my engagement ring because he couldn't afford one. He will pay me back later on as he builds his career. He would pay for things if he could. I wholeheartedly know that. But I don't feel comfortable putting him on the title or mortgage on the house. I just don't think it's realistic, and I want to also have some protection for my investments that I've busted my ass for. He's a really good guy, just broke. Always has been, but won't be for long because he is super motivated and finishing school soon. What are your thoughts? Am I being unreasonable? He was distraught last night when I told him I wouldn't add him, plus it would F up our interest rate and borrowing potential because of all his debt. He continues to say I don't see us as a team when I pay for so much and never complain. I don't lose sleep over it at all. I've always seen us as equals. Edit. I can't believe how much this blew up. Thank you for all of your concern and advice. I am taking it to heart. I hope you all have a good evening. Next story. Am I the a-hole for ending my engagement because of his demands about our prenup? Advice needed. Update. I broke up with him since the whole deal felt like a bitter divorce rather than a step towards married life. I, F37, recently got a lump sum for a career project that turned into a whole company. I got into an agreement with a company that has been reselling my services via out-licensing and long-term corporate JVs. When I signed the paperwork, I felt like I had the opportunity to build a financial future, but my relationship wouldn't be affected. This has not been the case, and I'm very put off, to the point of breaking our engagement. We've been together for 4 years. I met him on the last leg of my struggle to get what has become my working life's motivation. This project has been all-consuming, and aside from that, I only had time for my family. I have very good friends, but everyone is busy. I didn't date or go out. When Sean, M43, came along, I was swept off my feet because I wasn't expecting to find someone that I liked so much. We shared the same sense of humor, and I became really attracted to him, both emotionally and physically. Sean is divorced. He has average office assistant skills and works for a small government agency. Our salary gap was not a huge deal as I invested a lot in my project, so whatever money I kept for myself went to my priorities that are non-negotiable. I take care of my family and pay bills. He did have hobbies that he spent time on, but when I met him, he was in between jobs and had to wait 4 months until he became active at his new job at the agency. We were both thin on money. I was very happy to have a guy who didn't pressure me to wear certain styles. I'm more of a flats and comfy clothes lady. When my ex before him demanded that I look trendy and said things that nullified my self-esteem, I knew he was on food stamps, very briefly, and chalked it up to a bad situation that was temporary. There was huge mutual acceptance. We tried to start a small consulting company, but it didn't work out. I noticed that he wasn't ready to co-manage, and after a long conversation, we mutually decided to call it off. We had been talking about marriage for a while, and when he proposed, the subject of a prenup was no surprise as we had already agreed on having one. Even if I had nothing, I see it as a way to protect ourselves and each other from potential situations. I'm in a niche market that deals with loss prevention, and I've seen people getting into lawsuits. We had drafted a plan but had some tense moments. He closed off at the lawyer's office and created a tense environment during our second meeting. Nothing that we had agreed on was getting followed through, and he kept asking for things and raising the bar. He got his own lawyer, which would have been okay, except that he never told me, and his attorney showed up, and I didn't even know he'd hired one. We had to pause the prenup after he almost bit my head off outside of my lawyer's office when I refused to give his daughter shares of my existing company. That's a no-go for me, and I'd rather stay unmarried. I built that company to leave something to my children. I'm the only parent looking out for them as my ex has been kind of a deadbeat. Sean wasn't even in the picture when I started it. I will not create a trust fund for his child either, like he asked. None of these requests had been previously discussed, but came up once his lawyer showed up. I did agree to help her financially, give her an allowance, and help pay for a car. I also agreed to pay full health insurance and contribute to her college housing plus contribute to her education. She has a successful mom, so my logic is that she already has someone willing to give her a good start in life since Sean isn't financially able. His daughter is an adult, 18F, while my kids are in grade school, and I need to make sure they are taken care of while she's already at an age where she can get a job. I offered to contribute to a fund for her first home, but it seems like nothing I offered was good enough. I love his kid, but I didn't raise her, and she will never see me as her mom, and I respect that. Her mom's family owns a business, and her mom owns her home in a very good area. It's not like she depends on me to have a good life. I wanted it to be fair since her mom, Sean, and I could contribute. So Sean and I had an argument because he sent me a breakdown of how much I'm supposed to make off my business over the next few years. I lost my temper because it felt like a gotcha situation. I confronted him about my own kids and asked what he would contribute to them. He went silent. So I said I wanted their names on the deed to a piece of land that he owns but hasn't been able to develop because he doesn't have the funds. He was surprised and accused me of trying to dilute his inheritance to his daughter and being generally unfair since she has less than what my kids will end up having. I just wanted him to see my point, but I made things worse. We used to be able to talk outside of the prenup, but now, if I don't get his sarcasm, it's his dry behavior that's driving me crazy. He said he was surprised at my greed and accused me of othering his child. I'm trying to figure out if I came across as a bad stepmother. Also, I'm not ruling out helping all our kids start their own businesses if they want to, but I can't guarantee its success since we are not there yet. Canceling the engagement sounded like the most sensible decision, and I'm astonished this is actually happening. I don't know how to navigate. His last messages have been very hurtful, and he says I'm showing my true colors and told me thank you for my dishonesty about how I truly feel about his daughter. My best friend is pissed and threatens to put him on blast if he keeps this up. I'm confused since I didn't expect our relationship to end like this. Am I the a-hole? Next story. Am I the a-hole because I stopped cooking dinner for my husband and son? I, 37F, am fed up with making dinner only for my husband, 39M, and son, 13M, to usually not eat it. They have both become the most unbearable, pickiest eaters on the planet, and I'm so sick of their shit. At first, I was able to make at least 10 different dishes out of their picky eating habits, so I'd rotate those out. Over these last few years, they have both gotten worse with their picky eating to the point where there are only 3 different dishes they will eat that I cook. I cook really well. I'm Spanish and my mother taught me how to make so many different cultural dishes as well as Americanized dishes. My husband is American-Italian. He won't eat anything that isn't American/Italian, but he is even pickier than that. To give you an example, he will only eat white meat chicken that isn't touching any bone, and he will never touch seafood. He told me that he used to be the person who would only order chicken fingers at a restaurant, so I'm married to the adult version of that kid. My son has recently started following in his image. My son used to have a wide palate and would try anything, but not anymore. All of a sudden, he can't handle anything, just like my husband. They aren't even blood related. My husband is stepfather. They used to love my dishes, and I used to get a lot of praise for how good my cooking was. I'm not sure why over time they have become the pickiest eaters. Now all I get is, I'm not hungry right now, I'll eat later, and then they don't touch the food and it goes to waste. Or straight up, I'm not eating that, when it is perfectly delicious and edible. I'm so sick of the two of them that I have refused to cook for a couple of months now, and my husband brought it up like it was a problem that I'm not making any of the 3 damn boring-ass dishes he can handle. I'm sick of cooking these 3 dishes, and sometimes they won't even eat them. They've been fending for themselves for dinner, and I feel way less stressed out now. And just so you know, I work full-time just like my husband does, so why he can't do the cooking if he wants to be so picky I don't understand. Apparently because I have the vagina, I'm the one expected to cook. Over it. I come home from work ready to eat dinner, but will he cook it? No? So I've been having to just have a girl dinner by myself, which usually consists of cheese and crackers. I think I'm just ranting at this point. I wish someone else would mind dinner, and I didn't have to be responsible anymore. Anyway, do you think I'm an a-hole? Am I the a-hole for being pregnant when the reason why my husband and I broke up was because I didn't want children? My ex-husband and I were together from the time we were 15 to 35. The last couple of years were not happy, and the reason was because he had a change of heart about kids. When we met, we were kids and never talked about children, but then we were 20s and both realized we actually didn't want children. Our marriage was beautiful, and when it got bad at the end, we chose to end it before we started hating each other and ruining all of the good memories. Only when he moved out did I realize that we actually hadn't been in love for a while, and this in itself was heartbreaking. I never knew how heartbreaking it is to fall out of love with someone who was a big part of your life. Within a year, he had met a woman, and she was pregnant. He is married now with 2 children. He seems happy, and I have spent some time every now and then looking up his life online, and while neither he nor his partner are avid social media users, he seems very happy. When I saw him holding his children or playing with them, I felt immense loneliness, even if I still had my family and friends. Not only him, my siblings around me, my best friends, everyone was having children, and it made me feel more and more lonely. All the people I know have priorities now that aren't us, siblings, or friends anymore. I felt terrible loneliness all the time. I met my fiancé 3 years ago. I love him very deeply, and I am very happy with him. I told him that I wanted a baby, and he was very happy about it. Now I am 7 months pregnant, 33 weeks. My ex-husband has heard about it, and he is very upset about it. He wants to meet me to talk, and his sister told me that. He is angry that I lied to him, but I swear I didn't lie. I just changed. Our last period together changed me, and so are the years after the divorce. Seeing everyone happy around me, I am totally lonely. Even my divorced friends had their children to love and care about and seemed content. I never meant to hurt him. I don't even understand why he is hurt either, because he seems to be very happy, and his sister told me that he is.